So how about we begin? Does that sound like a good idea? Okay, good. It is 10:30. It is 10:29. And honestly, because we have our guests from Berlin, we've been in church for a long time now. I know. And I would have already heard a bell or things like that. So what Stephanie and Olga said I could do was just start talking, and then we could start. So, good morning. I am Reverend Misty-Dawn Shelly. My pronouns are she, her, and I serve as half of your interim co-minister team alongside my colleague, the Reverend Abigail Stockman. Together, we will complete this year of interim co-ministry on June 30th. For those of you who were at last week's annual meeting, you will recall that I will not be here with you for a second year of half-time interim ministry. The good news is that Abigail will return for your second year of half-time interim ministry. And I will continue to be your neighbor over at First Parish Church in Berlin. Yeah, and continue my contract ministry with the good people of First Parish Church Berlin who are with us this morning, either here in the choir assembly over here or on Zoom, and I'm certain that many will come in because I started early. So here in this spiritual community, we invite you to come with all of who you are, your religious background, race, ethnicity, age, ability, and gender expression. On Sunday mornings, we come together by Zoom and here in the meeting house to support each other's spiritual exploration and honor the various paths our spiritual journeys take. Are there announcements that we need to lift up here today for either First Parish Northborough or First Parish Berlin? Okay, great. All right. So let's begin. I did forget to tell you all that there is coffee and fellowship that follows across the way in the parish hall. Renee has assured me that she has made enough coffee and tea for everyone. What is it that calls you here? That calls you onward, that calls you inward, that leads you homeward? What is it that gives you the power to make that change? To ask that question, to take that journey? What is it that says you have done well, that asks you to learn more, that brings you to stillness, that holds you up in hard times? It is relationship. Relationship to God, to wise teachers and prophets, relationship with music and fellow seekers. It is relationship with that which we place our full, abiding trust in, that beating heart of our faith. And it begins when we share. When we share this hour, our truths, this air, and our hearts. Come, let us worship together. Will you join me in singing hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit? It is not 346. In body and or spirit. And I would like to invite Donna Morris up to light our chalice. And we have some lovely chalice lighting words, and there are matches and just set something on fire, Donna. Great. Thank you. As we kindle the flame of our spiritual community, let us pay attention to the dance of its fire. It is not static. It ebbs and flows in a spontaneous pattern of light and shade. May we continue to find our way as a congregation through this dance of transition with like spontaneity, responsiveness, and warmth. So I'm often asked, so what did you think about this year of interim ministry? And there's always this sort of hunger for answers and tips. So what I thought for this morning, I would offer some lessons from the balcony. And so if you are familiar as religious leaders, we sometimes have to step away from the day-to-day and take a look from the balcony. And so I offer these lessons that I have come to learn. When you're stuck on what to do for your spirit, remember it's better to be outdoors than indoors. And just because a person knits or doodles or is actually looking at a screen does not mean they are not listening to all that is happening around them. 3, it can be difficult to come to church when there are not people who are the same age as you, who look like you, talk like you, or even sing like you. 4, ask for help, even when it's hard to do. 5, music and art are essential to being church. Number 6, if you feed people with pizza, sandwiches, simple breakfast, loaves of cookies, like bins of cookies, you will likely have participation. When you ask for a member's input, please follow through with results. Number 8, listening is essential to building relationship. Listen to listen, not to respond. Just listen. Number 9, appreciation and gratitude for change is difficult. It's difficult to articulate. It's difficult to see the value of change when you are in the midst of it, because change is hard, exhausting, and do it anyway. And number 10, even though people across the lifespan leave church to explore life in a different city, move for a job, even belong to a different religious community, this place and its people hold a special place in their heart. So those are my lessons. I invite you over the summer Sabbath to take a seat in the balcony and see what lessons you might have for ministry. Our financial offering this week is shared between the general operating fund and a designated nonprofit organization. This month, we share our plate with the Sterling Animal Shelter. The mission of the shelter is to operate a no-kill animal shelter with no time or age restrictions. It provides humane sheltering and medical care for stray, unwanted, abused, and neglected animals. These animals are sheltered in the facility and also foster homes until they find loving, lifelong homes. The shelter is supported entirely by donations and the fees for services it provides. They receive no support from federal, state, or local governments. And they provide for over 3,000 animals each year. There are many ways that you can provide and show your financial generosity. You can donate online. You can write a check to First Parish Church, Northborough. You can send it in the mail to 40 Church Street in Northborough. And may we continue to be as generous as we are able. The offering for the work of this congregation and the work of the Sterling Animal Shelter will now be gratefully received. This morning we engage in a beloved ritual of connection observed in some faith communities as an act of worship, and where we sing, "Draw the Circle Wide" now. Will you join me in prayer? Loving Creator, beyond our understanding, yet closer than our breath, breathe into us your love so that we may love ourselves and others as you do. Help heal the fear, hate, and judgment that wound so many. Help us know deeply and certainly that your love transcends all labels, all categories, all words. Your love rains down on us all, and everyone is invited to your table, and we each bring our whole and broken parts, and we come together in your love, which binds us and heals us all. Amen, and blessed be. Our reading this morning is by Howard Thurman. I will sing a new song. The old song of my spirit has wearied itself out. It has long ago been learned by my heart. It repeats itself over and over, bringing no added joy to my days or lift to my spirit. It is a good song, measured to a rhythm to which I am bound by ties of habit and timidity of mind. The words belong to old experiences which once sprang fresh as water from a mountain crevice. My life has changed in ways where the old song, perfect in its place, is not for the new needs. I will sing a new song, as difficult as it is. I must learn the new song for the new needs. I must fashion new words, born of all the new growth of my life, of my mind, of my spirit. I must prepare for new melodies that have never been mine before, that all that is within me may lift my voice unto God. Therefore, I shall rejoice with each new day and delight my spirit in each fresh unfolding. I will sing this day a new song. So ends our reading. that great? It's like one of my favorites. Gosh, and you should have heard them rehearsing. No! Okay. So it is not a coincidence that I have gathered the two of the congregations that I serve over this last year together. I knew way back in the winter that I wanted to have the opportunity to bring you together, and particularly on this Sunday. So on Monday, I will honor the day by celebrating 12 years of ordained ministry. And 12 years ago, I stood in this meeting house and was charged and placed a large burden to the ordained Unitarian Universalist ministry. And there were a couple of extras at that ordination from First Parish Church in Berlin. I wanted to call you together to worship together, be inspired by each other as we have just witnessed in the beauty of song. And I thought both of you could use some of the information that I have from this transitional ministry so that I didn't have to say it twice. Because from time to time, over the more than decade of congregational ministry, I find myself returning to a few key pieces of wisdom, guideposts, you might say, lessons, touchstones of my ministry. As I answered the call to serve our ministry in my 30s, that was just last year, following successful career in accounting for a nonprofit human service organization and moving 800 miles west in the middle to Fort Wayne to serve my very first called, settled ministry, and now back here, home, to the very area that supported my ministerial calling, I return to the words from the charge from my ordination. Wherever you are called to serve, we would have you preach the word of truth and freedom with love and courage, listening, both with your mind and heart. We would have you minister with tenderness and strength in times of joy and suffering, and call those you serve into relationship across the generations, creating a sacred connection for the work and practice of our UU tradition. Then there is the promise from my installation service that I affirmed to recognize and honor the gifts each of you bring to this beloved community, whether the playful spirit of children, the hopeful seeking of adults, and the wisdom hard won by elders. I promise children and adults alike that I shall seek to know you, to listen to your hopes, and help you build your dreams, so that we may be one congregation, one people of faith. And as far as the power lies within me to maintain the freedom of the pulpit, to speak the truth in love, both publicly and privately, to diligently fulfill the offices of worship and counsel and service and all of the things that you make us do. Oh, wait, that we are called to do. We are called and indeed consecrate our lives and promote reverence and understanding and love among the people. And then there is this written piece of paper that I have that goes in my calendar from my good colleague, the Reverend Amy DeBeck, who I have formed a wonderful collegial and friendship with, who served at one time in Indiana. And she reminded me to have fun, be spontaneous, and let your glow light others' pathways. I should also just say that this piece of paper came with a big glow stick, and there's a whole story, and if you want that story, you can talk to me after. Everyone across the generations is a teacher. Do not hide your light under a bushel. Sometimes your light will wave with others and the result will be beautiful. Sometimes it will be needed to look into dark places, those in your own life and in congregational situations, and it cannot illuminate the truth if it is hidden. And sometimes in life, just like a glow stick, it won't work properly until it is bent to the point of breaking. Now, these touchstones provide a solid melody for my ministry and my overall song of congregational ministry. A melody, for those of you who are not skilled in the music genres, a melody provides a sequence of tunes that is musically satisfying. It is often the most memorable aspect of the song. It's a good song, Thurman writes. A good song measured to a rhythm to which I am bound by ties of habit. The words belong to old experiences which once sprang fresh. My life has changed in ways where the old song, perfect in its place, is not for the new needs. Ministry in general and congregational ministry in particular has changed in ways that even the strength of the melodies that have guided my ministry are in need of a new song, as difficult as it is. Both of the congregations I serve now are in transitional ministry. The song of your hearts, the familiar melodies, were disrupted by a global pandemic and the departure of ministers who companioned you and your communities through that pandemic. And in the emergence from pandemic ministry, or as some are referring to as the post-isolation, congregations and ministers discovered that each of us had new needs. We had new needs to recognize our very being and belonging. A new song needed to be discovered, and no one was prepared for the new melodies. I will sing a new song, as difficult as it is. I must learn the new song for the new needs. I must fashion new words, born of all the new growth of my life. I must prepare for new melodies that have never been mine before, that all that is within me may lift my voice unto God. Over the last month, your clergy, your Unitarian Universalist clergy, have engaged in a couple of webinars that have included the UU Ministers Association staff, as well as the as well as staff from the UUA, and discussed current trends in ministry, right? Because I can stand here and tell you that a lot of things have changed, but wouldn't it be great if there was data to support it? Just a little bit of data, just a little. So I want to share a little bit of what has been changing in our ministries. And for my federated folks, the UCC should have theirs posted on their website in late July or August. And so you all might hear this again. So let's start with that. Did you know that of the 980 certified congregations, that 2 out of 3 have 140 members or fewer, including 300 congregations at 50 members or fewer? And 7 congregations have 800 members or more. And that part-time employment is the norm for our congregations, makes up about 70% of our ministry, and 20% of that 70% are lead or solo ministers. Yeah, that wasn't fun data, was it? No. How about this? Current seminarians, those that I and others are trying to recruit into parish ministry, current seminarians see our congregations as places of healing and growth and transformation to equip people to live in today's world. As such, they expect to accompany congregations through change. And they are sharing with us that they understand that congregations need more tools to engage conflict, trauma, and communication. Now, how many new seminarians do we have? We have 340 aspirants and candidates, and 20% of those are members of the global majority, which is great. That means our ministry is becoming more diverse, and there is a significant number of those aspirant and candidates who are identifying as trans and non-binary. Now, of those 340, do we think they're planning for parish ministry? So that is a more difficult number for our UUA staff to clarify. So the anecdote was 4 out of 16 who were interviewed at a recent ministerial fellowship committee leaned towards parish ministry. 4 out of 16. And in fact, part of this trend in ministry is even having even congregations who have wonderful internships and fruitful financial internship sites are having difficulty filling them. There is a real impact, not only in how we gather as congregations, but also within our ministry. The great question that is often asked by our staff is, are ministers leaving? And you all know the answer to that. Yes. Yes, retirements are up. And ministers are leaving for different ministries. And When congregations were asked, were they surprised by their ministers leaving, they mostly agreed that they too were looking at making changes in their life, and so they were not that surprised that their ministers were moving on. Now, in Search, which I know Northborough will be entertaining in the next year, the number has decreased. So in 2010, there were 110 ministers in Search. And it has slowly gone down to 90, to 70, to this most recent search, 55. I have to tell you, that is startling to me. Mostly because back in 2012, it was really hard to get even one pulpit. And now, it's a minister's market out there. Our trends are also recognizing that there is a less interest in smaller congregations. I have no idea why, because I think small is great. But that's just my personal ministry mantra. Perhaps because I was raised up by a small congregation. And when they talk small congregations, they mean 125 members or less. So they are seeing more innovative ministries happening, right? You know, maybe one is in the pulpit and streaming into another church. Maybe one minister is serving multiple congregations and they rotate where they are each week. Should they remain in their physical plants. It's a lot of information to take in. And it's a really important time of emergence. We, in congregational ministry, are on the cusp of a lot of new things coming. And some congregations see the cusp coming and turn and run the other way. Fair, happens. Some congregations see the cusp and collapse into continued fatigue and trauma. And some are energized and finding new ways to do church. And some congregations are doing all of those things at once. It is no wonder we are exhausted, and that change is exhausting. It is a different melody. It is not familiar, and it doesn't seem to be making a great sound or familiar in the ways that we have always enjoyed. So given all of that data, I'm going to leave you with some questions. And if we go back to our opening words, we talked about relationship. What brings us here? What brings us together? Relationship to the holy, relationship to each other. So what are some of the stories or narratives that inform ways your congregation engages in affirming that relationship? Those relationships with new and familiar folks coming through our door across generations, creating a sacred connection for the purpose of being church. What are the stories you're telling? And when you listen to the stories, are some of the stories holding you back? Or are they lifting you up? And if you hear the stories that are holding you back, is there a way to disrupt that narrative? David Blanchard shares that while on sabbatical in East Africa, he heard a story of a people who believe that we are each created with our own song. Their tradition as a community is to honor that song by singing it as welcome when a child is born, as comfort when the child is ill, in celebration when the child marries, and in affirmation and love when death comes. It takes a while for some of us to learn these new melodies and this song of our heart. And it is ever so important that we take time, that we take the time to listen and learn and prepare for the melodies. Because once we have that song in our heart, it helps us to recognize our being and our belonging in this beautiful tapestry of the human family. Clergy and congregations will sing a new song. As difficult as it is, but we have each other. We have each other to prepare for new melodies that have never been sung before. Congregational ministry is on the cusp of a fresh unfolding. But the melody will not be completely new, right? Because back in the beginning, in our call to worship and in our prayers and in song, we have heard a part of the melody that will be familiar: love. A love that holds us, a love that we trust in, a love that lasts always, even in the face of death. And it is a love from the call of our ancestors to stand by our faith, to work for it and sacrifice for it. As Olympia Brown says, there is nothing in all the world so important as to be loyal to this faith, which has placed before us the loftiest ideals, which has comforted us in sorrow, strengthened us for noble duty, and made the world beautiful. She says, do not demand immediate results, but rejoice that we are worthy to be entrusted with this great message, that you are strong enough to work for a great true principle without counting the cost, and to go on finding ever new applications of these truths and new enjoyments in their contemplation, always trusting in the one God, which ever lives and loves. May it be so. Let's sing. I feel like every time I've preached here this year, we've sung hymn number 131, which says a lot. It's a favorite. Yeah. of data and hope. Our hearts full and our hopes renewed, may love guide you in preparing for new melodies. May you learn these new melodies and learn to sing a new song, as difficult as it is, and delight in each of our fresh unfoldings. May we listen to the song of our hearts and rejoice with each new day the opportunities to share in the music of life.